Welcome to This Explainer. Look, if you're a prominent professional, you already know your reputation is hands down your most valuable asset. But did you know there's this entire hidden ecosystem operating completely behind the scenes, and it's deciding your credibility right this second? It's this invisible space where silent forces and background signals dictate exactly how the world perceives your authority and your professional standing.
So it brings up a really serious question. Are you truly in control of your digital identity? Or are algorithms defining you in the background? You might assume that just because you've got an active PR strategy or this meticulously crafted LinkedIn profile, that you are the one steering the ship. But the reality? Algorithms are constantly churning in the background, continuously evaluating a massive web of data points that you might not even know exist. Okay, let's dive into this. Today, we're going to unpack the digital control illusion, look at exactly how search ecosystems think, and then explore the content decay trap, external validation, and fragmented identity signals. Finally, we'll wrap up with mastering your digital footprint.
All right, part one, the digital control illusion.
To kick things off, we absolutely need to shatter a super common misconception. What most professionals think of as their reputation is quite literally just the tip of the iceberg. I'm talking about your visible branding, things like a polished social media profile. But here's the kicker. Search ecosystems don't just look at what you want them to see. They look underwater at the background signals. We're talking about hidden metadata, historical search associations, or worst of all, a forgotten forum post from 10 years ago that could completely derail a modern executive's credibility. If you're only managing what's visible, you're flying blind. You're ignoring the vast majority of what algorithms actually use to evaluate you. To really wrap our heads around how to fix this, let's ground ourselves in a precise definition. Reputation management isn't just sending out press releases, it's the process of monitoring, analyzing, and influencing how information about an entity is interpreted within digital ecosystems. Now notice that word entity. To a search engine, you aren't a human being with feelings, you're a data node. Your online reputation is literally just the sum total of the data points connected to your name across all these digital environments.
Moving right along to Section 2, how search ecosystems think.
So if you're an entity being evaluated by an algorithm, we need to understand the nuts and bolts of that evaluation. It basically happens in 3 steps. First up is content indexing. That's gathering the raw data from websites, public databases, and media publications. Second is semantic evaluation, where the algorithm actually reads the context and the meaning surrounding your name. And finally, entity resolution, where it stitches all these clues together, almost like a digital detective, to figure out exactly who you are and what you represent.
So the crucial point is this. Search ecosystems reward consistency because consistency defines credibility. It's that simple. When your information aligns perfectly across platforms, your trust signals go way up. When it doesn't, the system immediately reduces its confidence in you. With that foundational thesis in mind, let's start diagnosing the 12 hidden risks that might be quietly destroying that consistency.
Which brings us to Section 3, the content decay trap. This is our first diagnostic phase, and it's really all about identifying the ghosts of your past. We're looking at how time and simple inactivity can severely damage your digital trust. There are 3 specific risks here. The first is outdated professional information. Think obsolete biographies or old employment records. The second is archived content persistence. This is historical material stored in caches or public archives that continues to get engagement long after you think it's gone. And the third, passive digital footprints. This is information that just accumulates without your active oversight, like dormant accounts or neglected profiles. Search ecosystems retain and continuously index all of this stuff.
Now, why is this so incredibly dangerous? Because inaccurate historical records create direct discrepancies in how your entity is perceived. Think about it. If a search algorithm spots an outdated job title on some dormant profile, but a current job title on your active website, it doesn't just casually assume the newer one is right. No, it registers a contradiction. That contradiction weakens your overall trust signals, because the search ecosystem interprets this persistence as informational inconsistency.
Okay, moving into Section 4, external validation and vulnerabilities. Now we're shifting our focus to the outside world, the information you don't actually own. You face 4 major risks from external sources. First, unmanaged third-party content like forums and random directories. Second, negative search associations, where your name frequently pops up near controversial subjects. Third, low authority mentions from untrustworthy domains. And fourth, review sentiment imbalance. Search engines evaluate all these sources to verify your authenticity, and unfortunately, unmanaged third-party content often ranks highly simply because those external domains have their own established credibility.
And this brilliantly illustrates the problem. Imagine a sentiment imbalance where you're looking at a 60% negative distribution. Algorithms use natural language processing to categorize content into positive, neutral, and negative buckets. To an algorithm, a massive imbalance like this isn't just a bummer, it's a glaring red flag. It identifies it as a total anomaly, assumes a lack of credibility, and heavily suppresses your search visibility as a result.
The exact same logic applies to where you're mentioned online. Search visibility relies heavily on the contextual relevance and the actual quality of those external references, not just the sheer volume of them. High-authority domains, like getting featured in Forbes, provide massive trust validation and strong metrics. But low-authority mentions, like a spammy directory site, introduce a lot of uncertainty into the evaluation process. These low-quality references distort your digital credibility because search algorithms assign varying weights based on perceived trustworthiness.
Let's pivot to Section 5, Fragmented Identity Signals.
This is our final diagnostic phase where we examine the structural data. We've got 5 structural risks to look out for: inconsistent identity signals, unverified claims lacking authoritative references, search result fragmentation, data exposure risks, and weak knowledge graph signals. Even slight variations in the structural data completely destroy the cohesive semantic network that search engines are desperately looking for to verify you.
Here's what happens. When your digital presence is scattered across a bunch of disconnected sources without any solid evidence tying them together, your authority concentration absolutely plummets. Fragmented content creates competing narratives. Search engines fundamentally struggle to establish a definitive understanding of your entity under fragmented conditions. And honestly, if the algorithm is confused, your digital reputation is the thing that suffers.
And the impact on your search visibility is drastic. A strong knowledge graph, one that relies on highly structured, verifiable relationships, leads directly to high search visibility. Search systems naturally want to organize information into neat, interconnected databases to improve relevance. But if your signals are fragmented, those semantic connections break down, and that results in very low visibility. Verifiable relationships and structured data are absolutely mandatory. Without them, search systems just fail to establish clear professional relationships.
Finally, Section 6, Mastering Your Digital Footprint.
So, what's the big takeaway here? How do we actually fix this? Well, digital trust doesn't just happen by accident. It emerges from a transparent information architecture and tight semantic alignment. Reputation management requires your constant, active awareness. Every single indexed element, from a 10-year-old forum post to yesterday's press release, forms a cumulative environment. It's never just an isolated asset. You've got to align these assets so the search algorithms receive one unified message about exactly who you are.
Let's move to and see how this builds back into our core theme: consistency defines credibility. I really cannot stress this enough. Whether we're talking about your current job title, the sentiment of online reviews, the authority of the websites mentioning your name, or the structured data in your knowledge graph, search engines demand coherence above absolutely everything else.
It is time to stop letting these invisible background signals dictate your professional standing. You need to take control of your entity perception today. I highly recommend visiting clearmyname.org for a professional digital reputation audit. Discover exactly what the algorithms see when they look at your digital ecosystem.
I want to leave you with this one final thought. You have likely spent years, maybe even decades, building your real-world reputation. But think about your digital footprint right now. Is it actually building your professional credibility, or is it quietly fragmenting your trust in the background? The algorithms are already deciding. The only question is whether you are going to step up and shape that decision. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer.